Pokemon Emerald One-Eye Syndrome is a really dumb name for a video. I don't really know how to explain it. There's probably a better way for me to make this title, but it's whatever came to mind, and I'm just gonna roll with it. I've been thinking about this basically forever. It's quite common with these old retro games that you always tend to misinterpret what the sprites and the visuals are supposed to look like. There's an entire Reddit for this, I believe. It's called R Misread Sprites, which maybe that would have been a more fitting title. I think one of the more iconic examples of a misread sprite is the male protagonist. I mean, you know, the whole hair, hat thing, Jotaro. I think Nosepass is another iconic one, where, you know, the foot looks like a mouth. As a kid, when I was playing the Pokemon games, I didn't really watch the anime, and I only found out about some of these designs after playing Pokemon XD. It meant that I had this very weird one-sided vision of the game. When you look at the older Pokemon games, like from Red and Blue up to Crystal, you'll notice the Pokemon sprites tend to look very front-facing. They give you a very standard view of what these Pokemon look like. They're quite directly translated from Ken Sugimori's art. Come to Gen 3, there was a bit of a perspective change, where they were all kind of at this 45-degree angle, and it led to some cool stylization. You know, I think of Manectric, you're just seeing the one eye. You look at Grooval, one eye. And when I was a young buck, I took the perspective change very literal, so whatever angle the Pokemon was at, I just assumed that was what the Pokemon looked like, going from Gen 1 and 2 games. I think an iconic example is Gardevoir. There are two ways to look at this Pokemon, and that is the two eyes and its weird cheek feather things. But then there's also the nose, the goblin, where I thought Gardevoir was this weird bogey goblin. And once you see this, I never understood the popularity of this Pokemon, because I always the way I looked at it is this stupid ooh, stupid ooh pose. And yeah, for me, that's what Gardevoir just looks like for the longest time, because of this side angle, this perspective change. Pokemon Emerald was a very strange, weird game. I think another example that comes to mind is Silicoon and Cascoon. I was convinced that these Pokemon only had one eye, because if you look at the sprite, they only have one eye. It's supposed to be at this side angle, but these things have eyes. They have more than one eye, but the sprite, there was nothing to indicate. And it looked normal to me. It was like, oh, it's supposed to, these new Pokemon are supposed to, people are hating these new designs. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. No wonder why people don't, they do look kind of weird, actually. This was intentional. Pelipper definitely has another eye, from this perspective. I can imagine that, but I couldn't imagine Aaron having another eye, because it just looks like one of its craters on its face. Also, this is a weird design in general. I never understood the appeal. Anyway, one Pokemon in particular that looked very creepy because of this was Shuppet. The original Gen 3 sprite just looked so messed up. One ominous eye. And it made sense to me, because it was like, oh, this is supposed to be freaky. This is supposed to be like a ghost type. It's supposed to be scary. Turns out Shuppet is actually very cute, and I like Shuppet. Shuppet's a very cute Pokemon, but it did not look that way when I first witnessed it. Another Pokemon that actually, I think, kind of plays around with this is Lunatone. I just assumed it was a Cyclops, because you can only really see one eye at a time, because the eyes are sunken into its design. If you try to look at it front-facing, you get this amazing, it's really cursed. For some reason, I thought Lunatone had one eye, but it had two pupils in that one eye that you can see. I believe the Pokemon Sapphire Pokedex entry did clear this up. It says, the Pokemon's intimidating red eyes cause all those who see it to become transfixed with fear. So I think that's a double meaning, because yeah, if you see into its weird red eye, it's scary, but also, how are you going to see both red eyes at the same time with this design? I will say though that some of these mons are genuinely designed to only have one eye, just to add to the confusion. Beldum is one that comes to mind. But there's also Duskull and Dusclops. Dusclops makes sense, it's a Cyclops, fair enough. But then there's Duskull. I mean, I thought originally that Duskull had like a part of its face munched off. This wasn't even at like a 45-degree angle, it was like a 90-degree angle. So I just assumed it didn't have another side of its face. But it turns out it's actually even more interesting because if you've seen the model, it essentially just has one eye that just ping-pongs back and forth between its skull. So that's pretty interesting. Masquerain, of course. Its wings and its body are meant to represent this scary face, but it's actually very cute. These little beady eyes. Semi-related is Whalmer. Whales have spouts to, you know, shoot water and stuff. I thought the spout holes, if that's what you call them, I thought those were the eyes, and I thought Whalmer's actual eyes were the nostrils. This is made clearer in, you know, other media where the eyes are clearly eyes, but on the sprite it's just 4 dots. And also, why would the spout be so close to the eyes? I thought the spout would be more further back. Another strange eye monster is Cradily and Lileep. You see, Lileep has 2 eyes, I think, but then when it evolves, I assumed the 2 little yellow bits, these like yellow circles on Cradily's like skull forehead thing. I thought those were the eyes, and I just thought it had like one goofy yellow tooth. But no, that's actually just for show, I think. And its actual eyes, it actually has 2 eyes, I think. I don't know why they put those, I feel like that was intentional. I feel like it was intentional to put the eyes there. I think this is another Masquerain situation, where it just looks weird. It's weird on purpose. Or it's supposed to, like, ward off predators or something in, like, ancient times. I also want to mention Gulpin and Swallots. Gulpin's like lips, I thought that was just a nose and a smiley face. The animated Swalot sprite does not help, it just has puckered up lips for some reason. Anyway, to conclude, Pokemon Emerald to me was a weird nightmare game. Funny to see these sorts of examples where, you know, sprites are getting misinterpreted. I think a recent one that came to mind for me is when I was playing Shovel Knight, and I got up to this Chester character. I always thought he looked like some kind of weird scuba diver, but no, it's just that his toothy grin, like those aren't eyes. Again, you know, there's the Reddit where you can find all kinds of stuff like this, but I kind of wanted to talk about the ones that I had when I was younger playing Pokemon Emerald. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you also have if you had any weird visual misinterpretations that ruined your life. Goodbye.